Okay guys, so we officially got the reveal of the Rotten Tomatoes score for Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. And as you expect, it's moving up and down just about every hour or every refresh, or depending on where you're located, it could just be all over the place. So let's talk about the general score. Okay, before we get into this, let's go over the basics. Rotten Tomatoes is not a person. Don't be mad at Rotten Tomatoes saying they have awful reviews, because it's an aggregate of every single reviewer out there that's out of the big outlets. That's just how it works. They take them, they give you a Rotten Tomatoes rating, and that defines your film to a lot of people. Apps out there, you know, when you go purchase a ticket, it tells you the Rotten Tomatoes score because people generally like to know it, and sometimes it can and does influence whether people go and see a film. These are the basics, guys. This is Rotten Tomatoes. So at any given moment, like right now, if you're to check Rotten Tomatoes, depending on where you're from, Australia, somewhere from Europe, the United States, the score might be slightly different. I don't know. Right before I made this video, I checked it. 74. Oh, let's be real about this one. Would this movie at all have been impacted if the score was like a 70 to kick it off, right? I honestly don't think it would have, because there's so much anticipation going into it. Theaters have already stated they sold out months ago for certain tickets, so the hype is all there, right? But had this been some other film, like Solo, for example, where if it would have come out and then the Rotten Tomatoes score is not as positive, people might be turned away because they're actually listening to us and they're going, well, do I really need to see a prequel to a character I already know, like, dies? Like, what's the point, right? So there is that. Rotten Tomatoes having this score, though, I don't think it's going to really impact anything at all, or anything significant, if that makes sense. It's Star Wars. It'll make money. You know, that's just a given. That's the world we live in. Star Wars is huge. It's not going anywhere. Disney's gonna push it. The marketing machine has been astronomically, like, beyond anything I could have imagined. So all in all, it's looking pretty good. It's looking like it's gonna do good. And honestly, you know, I'm just excited at this point. Whether you love Star Wars, the current iteration, or hate it, or you're a giant fan of the prequels, I think what matters is this is a final chapter, and we're all going into it together to see how it ends, right? And this Rotten Tomatoes, I think, will reflect on a lot of people's opinion on going into it and being like, well, I don't know if I want to. Let me check some other people's opinions. They check it and go, you know what? It's positive. I'll go check it out. And I know sometimes people will get mad at Rotten Tomatoes. Like The Last Jedi, for example, is very highly rated and a lot of people didn't like it. It is what it is, but it's a general consensus. And honestly, the Rotten Tomatoes score, to me, would not have affected this at all. The film could have been a 5%. I still would be there day one, sitting there, ready to cheer, you know, eat my large bucket of popcorn or whatever, and just get excited for more Star Wars. You know, people do that with pretty much everything. So I think just let's go into it. It's either here right now, depending on where you're watching this from, or it's coming out tomorrow in the preview showing. So we'll be back with our review, and let's just celebrate Star Wars and the end of the Skywalker saga as fans of Star Wars.